Amara Hayes stood by the floor-to-ceiling window of her Marina District apartment, watching the Dubai sunset transform the sky into hues of orange and pink. She had achieved what many of her peers back in Los Angeles could only dream of, a prestigious position in one of the world's most luxurious cities. As she traced her reflection in the glass, Amara marveled at how far she'd come from her modest upbringing in the San Fernando Valley, born to middle-class parents. Her father, a high school teacher, and her mother, a nurse, had instilled in her a relentless drive for education and hard work. Amara had watched them sacrifice tirelessly, taking extra shifts to ensure she could attend the best schools. Their efforts bore fruit when she earned a full scholarship to UCLA's business school. During her time there, Amara distinguished herself not only with her academic excellence, but also with her groundbreaking ideas in digital marketing. Her thesis on luxury brand marketing in the digital age caught the attention of several international firms. When an offer arrived from Al Safar and Partners, Dubai's premier luxury marketing firm, Amara knew it was her ticket into the industry's upper echelon. The move to Dubai was a whirlwind of excitement and culture shock. The towering skyscrapers and limitless opportunities seemed to mirror her ambition. Within months, she had already made a name for herself by spearheading a digital campaign for a prestigious jewelry brand, driving an unprecedented 30% increase in online engagement. Her new apartment, though modest by Dubai's lofty standards, felt palatial compared to her old Los Angeles studio. Arranged by her company, it boasted sleek, modern interiors and breathtaking views of the marina, worlds away from the house where she had grown up. Amara swiftly adapted to the expatriate lifestyle, joining professional networking groups and building friendships with young professionals from around the globe. Her closest confidante was Sophie Reed, a British expatriate working in finance. Over coffee at their favorite marina cafe, Sophie had shared advice that stuck with Amara. Dubai operates on a different frequency. It's not just about what you know, it's about who you know. Amara took this to heart, attending every corporate event and networking opportunity. Her natural charisma and sharp intellect made her a standout in Dubai's elite social circles. Amara learned to navigate the delicate balance between Western openness and local cultural norms, always dressing and behaving with cultural sensitivity in the conservative business environment. It was at a high-profile luxury brands conference in September, hosted at the iconic Burj Al Arab, that her life took an unexpected turn. Amara had meticulously prepared her presentation on digital marketing trends in the luxury sector, and as she delivered her insights with poise, one attendee caught her eye. Sheikh Khaled bin Rahan Al Rashid, a renowned businessman in his late 40s, known for his investments in luxury retail, sat in the front row. His quiet nods of approval added gravitas to her words. The Al Rashid family wielded considerable influence in Dubai's business circles, and his presence alone elevated the conference's significance. After her presentation during the networking session, Sheikh Khaled approached her. "Miss Hayes," he said, his English polished with just a trace of an Arabic accent, "your insights on digital transformation in the luxury sector are truly remarkable." Dressed in a pristine white kandura, his commanding presence and neatly trimmed, graying beard exuded an air of authority. Amara felt a swell of professional pride at his compliment. "Thank you, Sheikh Khaled," she replied warmly. "I believe the Middle Eastern luxury market is uniquely poised to benefit from digital innovation." Their conversation flowed effortlessly, delving into business trends and the future of luxury retail in the region. That initial meeting paved the way for a series of professional interactions. Sheikh Khaled's company expressed interest in Al Safar and Partners' services, and Amara found herself increasingly involved in projects tied to his ventures. Her colleagues attributed her rising star to her creativity and professionalism. Amara's days soon filled with strategy sessions, client meetings, and high-profile events in Dubai's most exclusive venues. Invitations to elite gatherings where Dubai's affluent mingled with international business leaders became a regular part of her schedule. Her life seemed like a perfectly curated highlight reel of success, though she could not foresee the challenges that lay ahead. Amara Hayes' Instagram feed transformed from casual snapshots of marina sunsets and lively brunches to carefully curated images of her at high-profile events. Her parents, watching their daughter's ascent from afar, expressed both pride and a hint of worry. "You're living the dream, sweetheart," her mother remarked during their weekly video calls. "Just remember to stay grounded." Amara would laugh in response, reassuring them, "I'm still the same girl who helped Dad grade papers on weekends." Yet, beneath her confident smile, Dubai's intoxicating allure was beginning to reshape her perspective. The extraordinary wealth and luxury that once felt surreal quickly became normalized. Yacht parties, helicopter tours of the city, and dinners at Michelin-starred restaurants shifted from once-in-a-lifetime experiences to regular entries in her calendar. Amara's career at Al-Safar and Partners flourished alongside her lifestyle. By the end of the year, she was leading her own team, crafting digital strategies for some of the firm's most prestigious clients. Her office now occupied a coveted corner with sweeping views of the Burj Khalifa, and her salary had been significantly adjusted to reflect her growing responsibilities. The expatriate community celebrated her rise as a success story. Young professionals sought her advice on advancing their careers, and a feature in a local business magazine named her one of Dubai's rising stars in digital marketing. Invitations to exclusive speaking engagements across the Emirates followed, establishing Amara as a thought leader in her field. Sheikh Khaled's influence played an undeniable role in opening doors. His recommendations brought new clients to Al-Safar and Partners, enhancing Amara's reputation. If she noticed the lingering glances he gave her during meetings or how he seemed to single her out at events, she attributed it to professional respect. Sophie Reed, however, saw things differently. Over dinner at a rooftop restaurant one evening, Sophie voiced her concerns. "Amara, be careful with Sheikh Khaled. His attention might feel flattering, but don't forget where you are." Amara waved off her friend's worries, insisting, "It's strictly professional." But as autumn turned to winter, subtle shifts in Amara's life began to emerge. Her late-night strategy meetings grew more frequent, with urgent messages buzzing her phone at odd hours. Her once vivid social media posts became more reserved, curated to maintain an air of sophistication. Her collection of designer handbags and jewelry expanded, each piece justified as a necessary accessory in the luxury marketing world. Amara's wardrobe evolved, seamlessly blending elegance with cultural appropriateness, showcasing the very brands she represented. In retrospect, those early months in Dubai would feel like a dream, a glittering prelude to the events that would later shake the expatriate community to its core. For the moment, Amara was living her version of the Dubai dream, unaware that her rising star was tethered to a dangerous orbit. As December came to a close, Amara once again stood at her apartment window, gazing at the city's twinkling lights. Her phone buzzed with another message from Sheikh Khaled, requesting her presence at a late-night meeting. It was another opportunity to solidify her career, or so she believed. She replied with her usual professional courtesy, not realizing she was taking her first steps down a path that would lead to tragedy. The transition into this new world was so gradual that Amara barely noticed. January ushered in a string of high-profile events, each seemingly a natural extension of her growing success. Sheikh Khaled's connections granted her access to Dubai's most exclusive circles. She found herself drawn deeper into a lifestyle that far exceeded even her already comfortable expatriate existence. It began with an invitation to a private art exhibition at a members-only club in DIFC. The gallery featured rare Middle Eastern artworks, and Amara's presence was framed as part of a discussion on marketing strategies for the venue. Sheikh Khaled, dressed impeccably in his traditional kandura, ensured her name was on the guest list. "Art is about perspective, Miss Hayes," he said, standing close beside her as they examined an abstract piece. "Sometimes what we think we see isn't what's truly there." His words, enigmatic and weighted, lingered in the air like his cologne. Sophie noticed the changes first during their regular Sunday brunches. She remarked on Amara's new Van Cleef & Arpels bracelet, a piece that would cost several months' salary. "Business must be going well," Sophie said cautiously. Amara laughed it off. "It's important to look the part in this industry," she replied, her fingers unconsciously tracing the delicate gold chain. She didn't mention that it had mysteriously appeared on her desk one morning, accompanied by a note congratulating her on a successful campaign. The gifts kept coming, each more extravagant than the last: a Cartier watch after a major presentation, a Hermes handbag delivered after securing a high-profile client. Each had a professional pretext, yet Sophie's worried glances grew more frequent. Amara's calendar overflowed with exclusive events. Yacht parties gave way to invitation-only gatherings at lavish villas on Palm Jumeirah. Despite the glamorous veneer, the cracks in Amara's seemingly perfect life were beginning to show. Amara Hayes' Instagram posts, once spontaneous and casual, evolved into meticulously curated glimpses of a life steeped in luxury. High-profile events, designer outfits, and exotic locales filled her feed, transforming her into one of Dubai's rising social media influencers. Her follower count doubled, then tripled, as she gained recognition as a symbol of success in the city's elite circles. Her late-night strategy meetings became a fixture of her schedule, discussed often at upscale restaurants like Zuma or Nobu. Sheikh Khalid would request her presence in private dining rooms, always under the guise of business discussions. These conversations began professionally but frequently veered into personal territory, exploring their pasts, dreams, and philosophies on success. "You remind me of myself at your age," Sheikh Khalid told her one evening in a secluded dining room at the Armani Hotel. "That same hunger for success, that understanding that rules are meant to be bent." Amara smiled at the compliment, brushing aside the faint warning bells ringing in her mind. By March, the transformation in Amara's life was unmistakable. Her wardrobe was a parade of designer pieces, and her apartment had become a gallery of expensive art and rare artifacts, gifts she justified as business investments or tokens of client appreciation. Her salary at Al-Safar and Partners had increased significantly, but even that didn't fully account for her escalating lifestyle. Sophie Reed, worried by the changes in her friend, tried to intervene after Amara canceled plans for the third time in a row. "Amara, we need to talk about what's happening," Sophie said over the phone. "This isn't just about your career anymore, is it?" Annoyed, Amara ended the call abruptly. "I'm in control," she told herself. "This is just how business works in Dubai's luxury sector." The lines between personal and professional had blurred, and in this world, everyone knew it. The changes in Amara's social life were gradual but undeniable. She began missing regular brunches with friends and canceling weekly video calls with her parents. Her explanations grew vaguer, her responses to messages more delayed. The vibrant social circle she had built in her early months in Dubai faded, replaced by connections tied exclusively to Sheikh Khalid's world. Her office at Al-Safar and Partners became a secondary stop in her increasingly hectic life, overshadowed by high-profile events and late-night meetings. Her team adapted to receiving emails at odd hours, often sent from glamorous locations like the Burj Al Arab or private lounges in DIFC. Despite her continued professional success, her colleagues couldn't ignore her growing distraction and occasional anxiety. In April, things took a more troubling turn. Sheikh Khalid invited Amara to a private desert retreat framed as a business strategy weekend. The event was held at an opulent desert resort, far removed from Dubai's gleaming towers. Amara found herself the only woman in a small group of business executives, all closely connected to Khalid's enterprises. Under the vast starlit skies, the veneer of professional interest began to crumble. Khalid's attention became unmistakably personal, his touches lingering, his compliments becoming more intimate. Amara was both flattered and unnerved, aware she was crossing a line but unsure how to stop. Her behavior became increasingly erratic. At work, her once confident presentations turned mechanical, and her bold ideas gave way to cautious, conventional strategies. She constantly checked her phone, responding instantly to messages from specific numbers. In May, Sophie made one final attempt to reach her friend, showing up unannounced at Amara's apartment with their favorite takeout. The woman who answered the door was a shadow of the Amara she had once known, dressed impeccably in designer clothes, her makeup flawless even at home, but with dark circles beneath her eyes that no amount of concealer could hide. "I'm worried about you," Sophie said, setting the food on the counter. "This isn't you, Amara. The gifts, the late nights. You're losing yourself." Amara's response was cold and practiced. "You don't understand the level I'm operating at now, Sophie. This is real business, not the middle management world you're stuck in." The words stung. driving Sophie away for good. The summer brought more changes. Amara moved into a larger, more exclusive apartment, claiming it was necessary for hosting clients. The lavishly furnished space reflected her elevated status, but during the rare video calls with her parents, they barely recognized the backdrop of her life. Sheikh Khalid's influence over her became all-encompassing. Through his assistant, he began dictating her schedule, sending cars to pick her up for late-night meetings that stretched into the early hours. The pretense of business grew thinner and the gifts more personal. A diamond necklace appeared in her apartment after she casually admired a similar piece in a magazine. The expatriate community began to notice. Whispers circulated at brunches. Amara no longer attended. Her former friends watched her Instagram posts, noting her proximity to Sheikh Khaled in photos, the way she seemed to orbit around him in the city's most exclusive venues. The isolation was complete, and Amara's once promising rise now cast long, troubling shadows. By August, Amara Hayes' life had become a meticulously choreographed routine of appearances and disappearances. She was frequently spotted at Dubai's most exclusive restaurants, always seated in private dining rooms, or entering high-end hotels for late-night meetings. On paper, her work at Al Safar and Partners remained exceptional, but her physical presence in the office had dwindled. The warning signs were visible to those who knew where to look. Amara startled easily at sudden noises. Her sleep became erratic, and the smiles on her social media posts appeared forced. But the opulent world she inhabited dismissed such concerns as envy or misunderstanding. By September, her public appearances grew sparse. Her last known sighting was at Atmosphere in the Burj Khalifa, wearing a yet-to-be-released crocodile skin handbag and a new designer dress. Those who saw her noted how tired she looked, her movements devoid of their usual confidence. The next day, her office at Al Safar and Partners was empty. Her team received a brief email stating she would be working remotely on an important project. Her once active social media accounts fell silent, save for occasional, carefully staged posts that projected an image of normalcy. Watching from afar, Sophie Reed felt a gnawing dread. The ambitious, genuine Amara she had once known seemed to have vanished, replaced by a ghost drifting through Dubai's elite venues, leaving behind whispers and unanswered messages. What no one knew then was that Amara had uncovered a darker truth. Documents, conversations, and patterns that didn't align had begun to reveal themselves. The luxury that had once captivated her was about to demand a steep price, and the shadows she had stepped into willingly were growing deeper and more menacing. The last message Sophie received from Amara was chillingly brief. "I might have made a mistake, but it's too late now." When Sophie tried to reply, the message had already been deleted, and Amara's phone went straight to voicemail. The first red flag came in October during a late-night review of marketing analytics. Amara, working alone in her apartment, noticed irregularities in the advertising budgets for luxury watch campaigns. The numbers didn't add up. Funds were inflated and routed through multiple offshore accounts before reaching their supposed destinations. At first, she dismissed it as complex financial structuring, a common occurrence in the luxury sector. But as she delved deeper, a pattern emerged. Companies linked to Sheikh Khalid's business empire were funneling money through convoluted channels, using marketing budgets as a front for larger, suspicious transactions. Her background in business allowed her to recognize the signs of potential money laundering. The realization hit her one sleepless night as she pored over spreadsheets. She had unwittingly become part of something far larger than luxury marketing. Sophie's earlier warning echoed in her mind. Be careful with Sheikh Khalid. Now, sitting alone in her opulent apartment surrounded by gifts that suddenly felt like chains, Amara began to grasp the true cost of her ambition. The first strange phone call came on a Tuesday morning. A distorted voice inquired about specific campaigns she had managed. When she demanded to know who was calling, the line abruptly went dead. Similar calls followed, always from different numbers, each asking about certain financial transactions. Other unsettling changes began to creep into her life. Black SUVs lingered outside her building for hours. Men in suits appeared at restaurants where she dined, sitting just close enough to ensure she noticed them. Her email account showed signs of unauthorized access from unknown locations. Paranoia set in, slowly but steadily. She began taking alternate routes to work, frequently checking her rearview mirror and avoiding her favorite cafes and restaurants. The luxury that had once felt like a protective cocoon now seemed like a gilded cage. One evening, while reviewing old campaign documents, Amara stumbled upon a folder she didn't recall creating. Inside were detailed records of financial transactions that made her blood run cold, evidence of systematic money laundering through luxury goods companies. Her name appeared on multiple documents as the marketing director responsible for the campaigns. The threatening messages started soon after. The first appeared on her phone during a meeting. Some discoveries are better left unmade. Amara's hands trembled as she deleted it, but the warnings continued. Loyal employees know when to look away. Your position comes with certain expectations of discretion. Though none of the messages were overtly threatening, their tone left no doubt about the danger she was in. Determined to protect herself, Amara began meticulously documenting everything. She saved screenshots, recorded dates and times, and stored the evidence in an encrypted folder on her laptop. She attempted to distance herself from Sheikh Khaled, declining late-night meetings and requesting to be removed from certain client accounts. She cited overwork, but her efforts were met with resistance. Your insight is invaluable to these projects, Sheikh Khaled would insist, his tone leaving no room for argument. Each refusal seemed to tighten the grip of the web she had inadvertently entered, drawing her further into a perilous game where escape seemed impossible. We need you involved. The words sounded more like a command than a request, growing more ominous each time Amara Hayes heard them. Unbeknownst to her, she wasn't the only one piecing together the puzzle. A private investigator, hired by a rival of Sheikh Khaled's business empire, had been quietly tracking suspicious money flows through various luxury companies. Amara's meteoric rise and her connections to several dubious transactions had placed her under scrutiny. From a distance, the investigator noted Amara's growing paranoia, the way she constantly checked over her shoulder, her hurried walks to her car, and her increasingly erratic schedule. She had the demeanor of someone who had uncovered something dangerous and regretted it. At work, her behavior became even more guarded. Amara started password protecting every file, even routine documents, and would immediately shut her laptop whenever anyone approached her office. Her previously open and approachable nature with colleagues had turned wary and distant. One night, while working late, she discovered her computer had been accessed during her lunch break. Files had been moved and sensitive documents opened. The cleaning staff reported seeing sharply dressed men claiming to be IT support in her office. That night, Amara stayed at her desk until dawn, copying all critical files and evidence to a secure external drive. The final warning arrived in the form of a gift, a stunning Cartier bracelet delivered to her apartment. The accompanying note read, "A reminder of the benefits of loyalty." Amara left the bracelet untouched in its box, the sinister undertones now painfully clear. Each gift had been a subtle tool of control. Determined to escape, she began planning her exit strategy. She transferred her most critical documents to encrypted cloud storage and started researching flights to Los Angeles, careful to use only her personal device and mobile data. She withdrew small amounts of cash from different ATMs to build an emergency fund. However, the obstacles to her freedom were formidable. Her work visa was tied to her position at Alsafar and Partners. Her bank accounts had been inexplicably transferred to a private banking division with strict restrictions, and her lease contained hidden clauses that made early termination prohibitively expensive. A chance encounter at Dubai Mall brought Sophie Reed back into her orbit. Sophie barely recognized her friend. Amara, once confident and vibrant, now seemed skittish and shadowed. When Sophie approached, Amara avoided her gaze and walked away quickly, leaving her friend confused and deeply concerned. The pressure continued to mount. Amara found herself inexplicably included in meetings for projects she'd never heard of, and her signature appeared on documents she didn't recall signing. The web of financial transactions she had uncovered seemed to grow denser by the day. She began recording every interaction, saving conversations on her phone, and documenting every suspicious incident. One evening, Amara received a chilling call from an unknown number. A woman's voice, hurried and panicked, said, "You're not the first to notice. Others have disappeared. Get out while you can." Before Amara could respond, the line went dead. The next day, her office was searched again. Though nothing obvious was missing, Amara could tell someone had been through her files. The message was clear. She was being watched. Her fear escalated into constant anxiety. Every sound in her apartment made her jump. The luxury that had once symbolized her success now felt suffocating. Every security camera, every impeccably dressed man in her lobby, and every sleek, tinted car seemed to pose a threat. She tried to confide in her parents during their increasingly infrequent video calls, but the words wouldn't come. How could she explain that her dream job had turned into a nightmare, that her hard-won success was built on a foundation of criminality, that she feared for her life? The final straw came when she discovered her passport had been moved. Nothing else in her apartment was touched, but the implications were chillingly clear. Her ability to leave was no longer under her control. Amara began compiling a detailed dossier of everything she had uncovered: financial records, transaction histories, email threads, and photos of incriminating documents. She encrypted the files and stored them in multiple secure locations. She even set up a time-delayed email to send the evidence to authorities if anything happened to her. But as Amara would soon learn, even the most meticulous preparations are not always enough. The shadows she had glimpsed in Dubai's glittering world of luxury were deeper and darker than she had ever imagined. They were closing in. The last entry in her personal diary, found later, read, "I thought I was climbing the ladder to success, but instead I was descending into something I can't escape. If anything happens to me, look beyond the glitter and gold. The truth is in the numbers, the transactions, the patterns. I just hope someone finds it before it's too late." These would be her final words. The dangerous waters she had waded into were about to pull her under completely, leaving behind only questions and a trail of evidence that would one day expose the sinister underbelly of Dubai's luxurious facade. The last week of Amara Hayes' life began, like any other, amidst the gleaming opulence of Dubai's business district. Security cameras captured her leaving her luxury apartment building early Monday morning, dressed in a cream-colored Chanel suit and clutching a new Hermes bag. The timestamp read 7 a.m., October 5th. Her movements that day seemed routine, but the footage revealed subtle cracks in her composure. At her office in Al Safar and Partners, she spent most of the day behind closed doors. Lobby cameras showed her glancing over her shoulder, her usual confident stride replaced by hurried steps. Her assistant, Priya Rahman, was the last person to have a significant conversation with her. She was different that day, Priya later told investigators. She asked me to clear her schedule for the rest of the week, saying she needed to focus on a special project, but her hands were shaking when she handed me her office key. Security logs later showed Amara entering the building's parking garage at 8:30 p.m. She sat in her car for 20 minutes before driving off, a delay that, in hindsight, seemed deliberate. Phone records revealed several calls made during this time to international numbers that investigators would later find untraceable. Tuesday brought a flurry of cryptic activity. CCTV footage tracked Amara across Dubai, first in Business Bay at 10 a.m., then at DIFC by mid-afternoon, and finally in the Dubai Marina that evening. At each stop, she appeared to be meeting someone, though cameras failed to clearly capture her companions. That evening, she made her final known phone call to Sophie Reed at 9:15 p.m. She sounded terrified, Sophie told the police. She kept saying she had evidence that could expose everything. When I asked her to explain, she just said, "If anything happens to me, check the cloud," and then hung up. The last confirmed sighting of Amara alive was on Wednesday evening. Security cameras at the Address Downtown Hotel showed her entering the exclusive restaurant at 8 p.m., wearing a sleek black Dior dress. Sheikh Khaled arrived 15 minutes later, and the two were seated in a private dining area beyond the view of cameras. What transpired during that dinner remains a matter of speculation. Amara left alone at 10:30 p.m., walking briskly through the lobby, her expression composed, but betraying no hint of the fate awaiting her. Her final text message, sent at 11:15 p.m. to an encrypted number, read, "It's done. I've uploaded everything. You know what to do if I don't check in tomorrow. Thursday morning brought the first signs that something was wrong, but Amara failed to show up for an important client meeting, a highly unusual lapse for someone known for her meticulous professionalism. Calls to her phone went straight to voicemail, and her apartment security system recorded no activity after Wednesday night. The first breakthrough came on Friday morning, when a maintenance worker at a supposedly vacant apartment in Business Bay made a grim discovery. The apartment, registered to a shell company, showed signs of recent occupation. Amara's designer handbag lay undisturbed on a marble coffee table, and her phone, wiped clean of data, rested beside it. The surfaces of the apartment had been meticulously cleaned, but ultraviolet lights revealed traces that told a different story. Security experts noted that the apartment's surveillance system had been disabled on Wednesday night. News of Amara's disappearance spread rapidly through Dubai's expatriate community. Her social media, once abuzz with daily posts, had fallen silent. Her last Instagram upload, a photo of the Dubai skyline at sunset, carried an eerily prophetic caption, "Some views are worth dying for." Investigators widened their scope, collecting security footage from hundreds of cameras across the city. A reconstruction of her final days revealed a chilling pattern. Amara moved like someone who knew she was being watched. Her office at Al Safar and Partners became a secondary crime scene. Forensic teams discovered her computer had been accessed remotely in the hours following her disappearance, with several key files deleted. Cyber experts, however, remained confident they could recover the data. The disappearance of a young, successful executive shattered Dubai's carefully curated image as a safe haven for international professionals. The expatriate community, particularly young women in high-powered roles, was shaken. Sophie Reed painted a haunting picture of Amara's final weeks. She was scared. She changed all her passwords, started using encrypted apps, and told me she was protecting herself but wouldn't say from what. Days after her disappearance, the case took a darker turn. A desert patrol unit discovered Amara's car abandoned on a remote stretch of road outside the city. The vehicle had been wiped clean, but forensic teams found traces of evidence that would later prove crucial. 2 weeks after her last sighting, an anonymous tip led police to a grim scene in the desert. What they found ended any hope of finding Amara alive, but marked the beginning of an even larger investigation. The evidence she had painstakingly gathered would reveal a vast network of corruption and criminal activity concealed beneath Dubai's glittering facade. As Detective Hammed Ula later reflected in his report, the death of Amara Hayes wasn't just about one person. It was about a system of secrets and lies hidden behind the glitter of luxury and success. Her encrypted dossier, eventually delivered to authorities, triggered a chain of events that would shake Dubai's financial sector to its core. For Sophie Reed and others who had known her, however, the truth offered little solace, only questions about the devastating cost of ambition in a world where luxury and danger walked hand in hand. The final chapter of Amara Hayes' life had ended, but the story she uncovered was only beginning to unravel. The glittering towers of Dubai concealed dark secrets, and Amara had paid the ultimate price for exposing them. In the incident room, Detective Hammed Ula stood before an evidence board that stretched across an entire wall. At its center was Amara's photo, surrounded by a labyrinth of documents, financial records, and surveillance images. 3 weeks had passed since the discovery of her body, and the case had evolved into one of the most complex investigations in Dubai's history. On his desk lay the forensics report, its findings meticulously detailed. What initially appeared to be a tragic but isolated crime had unraveled into something far more intricate. The autopsy suggested sophisticated planning and professional involvement, dismissing any notion of a crime of passion. "The financial trail connects everything," stated Sophie Chen, the forensic accountant assigned to the case. She gestured to a complex diagram of transactions involving luxury companies. Amara wasn't just managing marketing campaigns, she was inadvertently documenting a massive money laundering operation. Amara's encrypted files, triggered to release upon her failure to perform a weekly security check-in, had unveiled staggering revelations. Detailed records of financial transactions, disguised as marketing budgets, painted a clear picture of illegal activity. Each entry was meticulously documented with dates, amounts, and entities involved. Detective Ula's team combed through the evidence methodically. CCTV footage from Amara's final days revealed a chilling pattern. Black SUVs with tinted windows and luxury sedans with diplomatic plates repeatedly appeared in the background, maintaining just enough distance to avoid suspicion. Witness interviews portrayed a woman increasingly consumed by paranoia. She said the walls in her office had ears, her assistant Priya recalled. Amara had started holding meetings in the building's courtyard, far from potential eavesdroppers. A breakthrough came when forensic experts recovered fragments of messages from Amara's wiped phone. The texts revealed escalating threats. The system works because everyone plays their part. Loyalty is rewarded. Betrayal has consequences. Some questions are better left unasked. The financial analysis uncovered the operation's true scale. Amara's marketing campaigns had been used to launder hundreds of millions of dollars through a network of shell companies. Each transaction appeared legitimate, supported by fake invoices and contracts. She pieced it together in a way no one else could. Sophie Chen explained. Every transaction flagged corresponded to a seemingly valid campaign, but the numbers never aligned. She found the pattern hidden in plain sight. Amara had been quietly gathering evidence for months. Her encrypted cloud storage contained folders with timestamps dating back to her initial suspicions. She had cross-referenced financial anomalies with meetings, emails, and events, building a comprehensive timeline. Her meticulous documentation left little room for doubt. Footage from her final dinner at the address downtown hotel underwent intense scrutiny. While the private dining area was off camera, the lobby footage showed Amara leaving in visible distress. Her last phone call, made from the valet area, lasted a mere 15 seconds, leaving investigators to speculate about its contents. Forensic analysis of the Business Bay apartment where Amara was last seen revealed evidence that contradicted the theory of a single perpetrator. This wasn't a crime of opportunity, Detective Ula told his superiors. The level of planning, the systematic evidence cleanup, the financial complexity, this points to a professional operation with significant resources. The investigation uncovered parallels with other incidents in Dubai's luxury marketing sector. Young executives had either resigned abruptly or vanished under mysterious circumstances after managing certain accounts. None, however, had Amara's tenacity or attention to detail. The team's analysis of the shell companies involved revealed a tangled web of offshore entities. Each layer was constructed to appear legitimate, with proper documentation and plausible business purposes. Amara found what others either missed or chose to ignore, Sophie Chen remarked. She traced the money back to its origins, exposing a trail someone had gone to great lengths to hide. An unexpected lead came from a junior IT technician at Al-Safar & Partners who reported unusual access patterns to Amara's work computer in the weeks before her death. Technical evidence corroborated her suspicions, showing repeated unauthorized access. Her personal notes, recovered from encrypted files, revealed she had started keeping separate records to document her findings securely. The team constructed a timeline of events leading to Amara's death. 6 months, gathering evidence. 3 months, escalating threats. 2 weeks, active surveillance. Final days, increasing pressure, and the fatal dinner meeting. The investigation expanded internationally, as similar money laundering patterns were discovered in other luxury markets worldwide. She exposed a weakness in their system, Chen explained. By cross-referencing marketing budgets with actual advertising placements, she uncovered discrepancies that pointed directly to money laundering. Amara's meticulous documentation was devastatingly effective. Her understanding of digital marketing metrics allowed her to uncover irregularities others might have missed. She had mapped out an entire criminal enterprise hidden within the glittering facade of Dubai's luxury sector. As the case progressed, more witnesses came forward. Hotel staff, restaurant workers, and security personnel provided critical insights into Amara's final days. Each new piece of information painted a portrait of a woman who had discovered too much and paid the ultimate price for her courage. Each testimony added to the growing portrait of a young woman who had uncovered too much and paid the ultimate price. The investigation team meticulously built a case designed to withstand the intense scrutiny they knew would follow. With the power and influence of those implicated reaching into the highest echelons of society, every detail had to be flawlessly documented and verified. Amara did most of the work for us, Detective Hammed Ula noted solemnly. She left us a roadmap. Our job is to follow it to its conclusion, no matter where it leads. The case file swelled to include thousands of pages of financial documents, hundreds of hours of surveillance footage, dozens of witness statements, complex financial analyses, detailed forensic reports, and international banking records. As the investigation reached its final stages, the team prepared to present their findings. The case Amara had painstakingly built, coupled with the evidence uncovered after her death, exposed a sophisticated criminal enterprise hidden behind the glittering facade of luxury marketing. Detective Ula understood the challenge of bringing such a case to prosecution. The individuals involved wielded immense power, but Amara's meticulous documentation left no room for doubt. The irrefutable evidence of criminal activity on a massive scale made her work impossible to ignore. What began as the tragic death of one young marketing executive had evolved into an investigation that shook Dubai's financial sector to its core. Amara Hayes' legacy was more than the exposure of a sprawling criminal network. It was a catalyst for change in how luxury marketing transactions were monitored and regulated. As Detective Ula prepared his final report, he paused to look at Amara's photo on the evidence board. Her story was more than a cautionary tale. It was a testament to the courage of one person willing to confront a corrupt system, even at the ultimate cost. The shockwaves from Amara's death reverberated throughout Dubai's expatriate community. The glittering promise of overnight success in the luxury sector darkened as young professionals began to scrutinize opportunities that seemed too good to be true. In the months following the investigation's conclusion, Al-Safar and partners underwent a comprehensive organizational overhaul. New compliance protocols were implemented, introducing strict oversight of marketing budgets and financial transactions. The firm became a model of corporate reform, though the transformation came at an unbearable cost. Amara's parents traveled to Dubai to collect her belongings. Their grief was palpable as they walked through her apartment. The luxury items that once symbolized her achievements now felt like hollow tokens of a system that had failed her. To honor her memory, they established the Amara Hayes Foundation for Corporate Ethics, dedicated to protecting young professionals in high-stakes industries. Amara's death wasn't just a personal tragedy, Sophie Reed declared during a memorial service held at the American University in Dubai. It was a wake-up call for our entire community. Hundreds attended, many seeing their own ambitions and vulnerabilities reflected in Amara's story. In response, the Dubai Financial Services Authority introduced new regulations dubbed the Hayes Protocols, which mandated greater transparency in luxury marketing transactions. These changes rippled through the global industry, prompting other financial centers to adopt similar measures to prevent the misuse of marketing budgets for illegal activities. Major luxury brands operating in the region revised their practices, bringing in independent auditors to review significant expenditures. The era of unchecked spending and opaque financial dealings came to an end, replaced by a culture of accountability and scrutiny. The expatriate community also underwent a transformation. Informal support networks emerged, with experienced professionals mentoring newcomers about the realities of working in Dubai's high-pressure sectors. WhatsApp groups and online forums became spaces for sharing red flags, creating a safety net that Amara had never had. Detective Ula's final report catalyzed further reforms in corporate security. Panic buttons, secure communication channels, and anonymous reporting systems became standard in offices handling sensitive financial data. Universities across the region incorporated Amara's story into business ethics curricula. Her meticulous documentation and her bravery in standing against systemic corruption became enduring examples of integrity. The luxury marketing sector shifted its focus from extravagant growth to sustainability and transparency. Professionals were encouraged to ask questions about funding sources and client legitimacy, no matter how prestigious the partnership. Sophie Reed launched the Amara Hayes Memorial Lecture Series, drawing industry leaders and students alike to discuss corporate ethics and personal safety in the luxury sector. One year after Amara's death, a small garden was dedicated to her near the Dubai International Financial Center. A plaque read, "In memory of Amara Hayes, who sought truth at any cost. May her courage inspire others to stand for what is right." Amara's story marked the end of an era of unchecked excess in the luxury world, ushering in a new age of accountability and transparency. Though the price of these changes was devastatingly high, her courage ensured that those who followed would navigate a safer, more ethical industry. As Sophie often reminds young professionals during orientation sessions, true luxury isn't about expensive things. It's about being able to look in the mirror and know you've done what's right, no matter the cost.